Well, let's get more on the commemorations for the 11th anniversary of the September 11 attacks. We can hear what US President Barack Obama had to say when he spoke during a ceremony at the Pentagon.
So as painful as this day is and always will be, it leaves us with a lesson that no single event can ever destroy who we are. No act of terrorism can ever change what we stand for. Instead, we recommit ourselves to the values that we believe in, holding firmly, without wavering, to the hope that we confess. That's the commitment that we reaffirm today. And that's why, when the history books are written, the true legacy of 9/11 will not be one of fear or hate or division. It will be a safer world, a stronger nation, and a people more united than ever before.
US President Barack Obama there, while our North America correspondent Craig McMurtry joins us now from Washington. Hi, Craig. Now, this is, of course, the 11th 9/11 anniversary, but there's been a noticeable change in how Americans have been commemorating the day.
Yes, Karina, this one's a bit different. The crowds are smaller at Shanksville, outside the Pentagon, at Ground Zero. And at Ground Zero, politicians didn't speak today in today's commemoration. That's a first. The presidential campaigns were suspended as a mark of respect for the day. But overall, there is a sense that many Americans feel it's time to move on. Talking to people here in DC today, they were saying things that it's important to reflect on the day, important maybe to volunteer for community work in some respect, but they were also saying that they need to take something positive from it after all these years, and that it is time to move on. Of course, for the families of the victims, it remains a raw wound. It's very personal for them. They were reading out the names again at Ground Zero. That took 3 hours. Some heart-wrenching scenes there. Also, some politicians, notably a Republican Congressman, Peter King, was saying to reporters he worries that the lessons of September 11 are being left aside too easily, too quickly. He was saying that he's worried that September 11 is already being treated in this country as a Gettysburg, as a Pearl Harbor, something for the history books that's no longer relevant. He's making the point that the terrorist threat remains as real today as it ever has.
The two presidential candidates, Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, suspended their campaign as a mark of respect. But why is the former governor having to fend off attacks from his own party on his handling of national security?
Well, the only appearance that Mitt Romney has made today was at a National Guard Association convention. He gave a speech there. Now, ahead of time, some in his own party were saying that it really needed to be quite a strong national security speech because he's come under fire from Democrats, from the Obama campaign in the lead up to the anniversary, for failing to mention Afghanistan or Al-Qaeda in his acceptance speech in Tampa. And some on his own side are despairing a bit because Republicans are used to being strong on national security. They see that normally as an area of policy strength. They are concerned that Mitt Romney has not been strong enough on national security. So they were looking for a powerful speech from him today. But his campaign was making the point that today wasn't the day for partisan politics and that their campaign is on the underperforming, what they see as the underperforming US economy. And because he wants to keep that economic focus, that's why he hasn't been focusing so much on national security. But there is certainly some unease on his own side within the Republican Party.
Craig, there are also reports that the White House is refusing to set up a meeting between the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Barack Obama to discuss Iran. What's the latest there?
Well, these reports are disputed. The White House is not saying very much on this, except that they are making the point that whilst Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Obama will both be in New York later this month for the UN General Assembly gathering of world leaders, that their schedules don't line up. Now, there are reports out of Israel that Prime Minister Netanyahu was prepared to come to Washington, D.C., and so it's being characterised out of Israel as potentially a snub, the suggestion being that the President does not want to sit down with the Prime Minister to talk about Iran right now. You'll recall that Prime Minister Netanyahu has been fairly critical in recent days, calling for the US to set red lines to really demonstrate to Tehran what is and isn't acceptable in terms of Iran moving toward any sort of weaponized nuclear program. The State Department has gone on the record saying that it doesn't think a red line is terribly helpful. Again, officials are saying behind the scenes that there's still work going on. It May still be possible for the two to meet. So it's kind of a work in progress, but certainly the sense out of Washington is that this isn't a deliberate move, or they're saying it isn't a deliberate effort to snub, if you like, Prime Minister Netanyahu. They're simply saying that their schedules in New York don't line up. But it's another example of what can be sometimes a frosty relationship between these two leaders, and of course the importance of this crisis as Iran moves toward weaponizing its nuclear program.
Craig McMurtry in Washington, thank you.